It's midnight and you're tuning into Nightline with me, Raymond. The top stories. Missing foreign divers, police to probe for possible negligence. And reuse of SPM 2021 questions. Education Ministry to wait for thorough report. Good morning. The police will begin their investigation into the incident where 4 foreign divers went missing in waters off Pulau Tokong Sanggol, Mersing, after the 3 victims were found safe. Johor Police Chief Datuk Kamarul Zaman Mamat said the investigation will cover various aspects, including the qualifications of Norwegian dive instructor Christine Grodem and whether negligence occurred during the dive. He said for now the rescued victims are still traumatized and they need time to recover. He added his team will record their statements for further investigation as soon as the victims are stable. The 4 divers had been reported missing last Wednesday after they went diving some 9 nautical miles off Tanjung Leman, Mersing. British diver Adrian Peter Chesters and French national Alexia Alexandra Molina, who went missing at Pulau Tokong Sanggol last Wednesday, were found safe early on Saturday. They were found at a location south of Pengerang near Kota Tinggi at about 1 a.m. by local fishermen who then informed the authorities. Mersing Police Chief Superintendent Cyril Edward Nuing said the 2 victims had been sent to a private hospital in Pasir Gudang by the Region 2 Marine Police.
2 mangsa yang hanyut tersebut telah selamat ditemui pada lebih kurang pukul 1 pagi 9 hari bulan April 2022 di perairan selatan Pengerang, ya, berhampiran dengan sempadan Indonesia. Kedua mangsa ditemui selamat oleh nelayan tempatan yang sedang menjalankan aktiviti penangkapan ikan di tempat tersebut dan kemudian telah menghubungi pihak polis.
He added that both victims are in hospital for further treatment and both are reported to be in stable condition. Another missing victim, Adrian's son, 14-year-old Nathan Renze Chesters, who is a Dutch national, is yet to be found. Meanwhile, Mersing Maritime Zone Director, Maritime Commander Khairul Nizam Misran, said the search operation on Saturday to find Nathan Renze saw the area of focus shifted to the south until the waters of Tanjung Pengelih, Kota Tinggi.
Kita dah ubah sektor pencarian, jadi kita akan tertumpu pada selatan. Kalau ikut sebenarnya sektor pencarian kita hari ini di timur Desaru sehingga ke tenggara Johor. Jadi sekarang ni kita akan fokus pada tenggara Johor sehingga ke selatan, membawa ke perairan Tanjung Pengelih, which is di selatan Pengerang. So jadi kita akan tumpukan aset kita untuk buat carian di sana dan juga kita akan buat hebahan seperti semalam lah.
He said the Singaporean and Indonesian authorities had also been informed of the matter, while merchant ships and boats passing the area had also been alerted on the search for the missing diver. In the incident on Wednesday afternoon, 4 foreign divers were reported missing while diving in the waters of Pulau Tokong Sanggol, about 9 nautical miles from Tanjung Leman. One of them, 35-year-old Norwegian diving coach Christine Grodem, was found by a tugboat en route from Indonesia to Thailand at 8:15 a.m. on Thursday. Later at 1:30 p.m., the search and rescue operation for the 14-year-old Dutch diver Nathan Renze Chesters was called off. Mersing District Police Chief Superintendent Cyril Edward Nuing said this was following the information and findings that showed that the British diver Adrian Peter Chesters and French national Alexia Alexandra Molina were at a position of 16 nautical miles north of Bintan Island, Indonesia, when they were found safe. He said it was about 70 nautical miles or 100 kilometers from the location they were reported missing, and based on that information, authorities were of the opinion that the search efforts should focus on Indonesian waters, and as such, the operation in Malaysian waters had been temporarily suspended.
Kita mendapati mereka ini sebenarnya telah diselamatkan di dalam perairan Indonesia, iaitu lebih kurang 16 batu nautika mile di utara Pulau Bintan. Daripada maklumat ini, kami berpendapat bahawa usaha Nightline ini sekarang kita percaya hanyut di kawasan Indonesia.
Aset-aset yang melaksanakan rondaan harian telah dimaklumkan dan akan alert untuk sebarang penemuan oleh pihak berkuasa di Indonesia. Jadi kita akan serahkan semua kepada pihak Indonesia untuk melaksanakan untuk menyambung misi cari selamat ini. Sekiranya ada sebarang penemuan, dia akan maklumkan kepada kita dan dalam masa lebih kurang sejam ataupun 2 jam kita akan respon kepada maklum.
Following allegations that the same set of Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia SPM 2021 questions were used for the second session of the examination that began on Thursday, the Education Ministry on Saturday said it will examine the report from the Malaysian Examinations Board before any action is taken. First Deputy Education Minister Dato' Ma Hang Sun said the ministry had just received information on the issue and would have to look at the report first before coming out with the next course of action. He said any related parties were also expected not to speculate to ensure that the matter could be resolved properly. On Friday, it was reported that for the Bahasa Melayu listening examination, the same set of questions as the first session was used for the second session. The second special SPM session is for students who were unable to take the examination recently due to COVID-19, floods, as well as those who were given special exemptions by the Director of Examinations. The matter caused students and parents to cry foul, as the papers in the first session had already been widely shared. The Foreign Ministry stressed the allegation that 10,000 Malaysians were still in Thailand illegally or overstaying is completely baseless, and believed that the actual number is much smaller. The ministry said since the movement control order was implemented in March 2020, the ministry and the Malaysian Consulate General in Songkhla had provided assistance to more than 2,439 Malaysians who wished to return home. The Foreign Ministry, in a statement on Saturday, said that based on the records of the Consulate General, there are only 72 Malaysian citizens who are registered with the Consulate General and hold a border pass up until now. It said the number is part of the 444 Malaysian citizens who have registered with the Consulate General. The ministry statement came as a response to local media reports claiming that more than 10,000 Malaysians were trapped in Thailand and became illegal immigrants because their border passes had expired. The media reported that the situation occurred because they entered the neighbouring country before the implementation of the Movement Control Order in March 2020 and failed to return home due to the border gates closure. The ministry said that the Thai government in February 2021 had announced that foreign nationals holding tourist or short-term visas must leave the country, or they will be penalized if they failed to do so. Further to that, it said that the Malaysian Consulate General in Songkhla has assisted in terms of the renewal of the Malaysian International Passport for Malaysian citizens who wish to apply for an extension of the visa period in Thailand. It added the emergency certificates have been issued to holders of expired border passes to enable them to return to Malaysia. Meanwhile, Malaysian citizens in Thailand with expired travel documents who are affected by the closure of the border between the two countries are advised to attend the Malaysian Consulate General in Songkhla to enable the consulate to provide appropriate consular assistance. Applications for package Peranti Siswa Keluarga Malaysia tablets for B40 students will open on April 15th. Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa said 400,000 students of higher education institutions under the Higher Education Ministry will benefit from the program. Tan Sri Anwar said students studying under distance learning can apply, but they must register with the university and get a matrix number. He added the tablets will be distributed in 2 sessions, with the first involving about 60% of the total number of recipients, and priority is given to applicants with complete data, while the second session would involve appeal cases, and it would be held not later than 60 days after the first session. The tablets, which are from established brands in the market, are expected to be distributed to students in the second week of June. The gadget comes with warranty and is at the disposal of students, but must be returned to the institutions of higher learning concerned once they have finished their studies. The Tourism, Arts and Culture Ministry wants clearer guidance on the issue of gazetting of face masks to ensure that face masks produced by the local craft community are more secure. Its Minister Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri says she wanted clearer guidance to be given by the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry on the matter.
Bagi kami di Motek, apabila mendengar apa yang berlaku ini, kami nak mendapat pengesahan lanjut daripada Kabinet NHAP untuk membantu kita, membantu lagi memberi panduan kepada pengusaha kraft kita. Kita tidak dapat duduk diam kerana pengusaha kraft adalah kita punya community dan perlu kita bantu. Kalau ianya masih dikatakan memerlukan sirim ke apakah, kita minta supaya mereka memberi kita panduan supaya kami juga membantu kita punya pengusaha kraft dan juga yang membuat mask ini dan membuat batik untuk mask sebab mereka sudah melakukannya.
She said this after the launching ceremony of KUL Art Airport at the KLIA main terminal in Sepang on Saturday. Datuk Sri Nancy said she welcomed advice and guidance from various parties, especially related to development and research R&D, to produce face masks that comply with the requirements of MS Sirim. Previously, KPD and HAP has issued a requirement for manufacturers and importers of non-medical face masks to certify and mark MS Sirim from Sirim QAS International Sdn Bhd effective January 1st, 2023. The Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry is working to improve the subsidy distribution mechanism while looking into other alternatives to reduce leakage. Its Deputy Minister, Dr. Rosul Wahid, said the ministry received information through social media that subsidized goods such as cooking gas cylinders were being sold in a neighbouring country.
Mungkinlah ni kemungkinan hari ini kita subsidi kepada produk, kepada barang. Jadi barang ni pergi mana-mana pun dia akan bawa subsidi tersebut. Mungkin kita akan subsidi kepada orang. Ini ada cadangan. Subsidi kepada rakyat guna duit subsidi tersebut untuk beli barang.
He said this after inspecting the effectiveness of the price standardization program as well as the distribution area of controlled and subsidized goods in Kampung Sungai Tongkang and Kampung Mentadak in Pulau Sebatik on Saturday. Dr. Rosul said the ministry was also looking into several options, such as using a hologram chip on gas cylinders to make it easier for the items to be detected. He also said the government has allocated 680 million ringgit for the price standardization program, cooking oil price stabilization scheme, and general purpose wheat flour subsidy this year. Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah on Saturday stressed that the Malaysian Islamic Development Department, JAKIM, cannot issue any statement on decisions made by the Muzakarah Committee of the National Council for Islamic Religious Affairs, or MKI. The Sultan of Selangor, who is also the MKI chairman, in a statement said the issuance of any statement regarding such matters comes under the jurisdiction of the Muzakara Committee Chairman, MKI, and the Conference of Rulers. Sultan Sharafuddin said JAKIM only serves as the Secretariat for the Muzakara Committee and MKI, and as such, the Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs and his deputy cannot issue any statement on decisions made by the Muzakara Committee. His Highness added that it should be noted that the Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs and his deputy are not members of MKI or the Muzakara Committee, and therefore cannot interfere in any decision of the Muzakara Committee and MKI. He stressed that only the chairman of the Muzakara Committee can make presentations to the Conference of Rulers for consent, and after obtaining the consent of the Conference of Rulers, implementation of the decision of the Muzakara is left to the consideration and decision of the Islamic religious authorities of each state. On the Tariqat Naqshbandiyah Al-Aliyah Sheikh Nazim Al-Haqqani, Sultan Sharafuddin said the decision of the Muzakara was consented to by the Conference of Rulers on January 4th last year, and full details of the decision of the Muzakara can be referred through a statement issued by the chairman of the Muzakara Committee on Friday. More local updates later in the bulletin, but first, Saudi Arabia increases capacity of Hajj pilgrims to 1 million. The details when Nightline comes back. We're back with the foreign news now. Pakistan's parliament convened on Saturday to vote on Imran Khan's future as the nation's prime minister after the Supreme Court ruling that the rejection of the vote against Khan by Deputy Speaker Qasim Suri was unconstitutional. The ruling was seen as dealing a massive blow to Khan's hopes of retaining power in Pakistan and his plans of calling for fresh elections. The Assembly has convened with a vote listed as the fourth item on the agenda. In initial exchanges between Khan's ruling Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and the opposition, including Shahbaz Sharif and Shah Mahmud Qureshi, the Speaker Asad Kaiser has urged to uphold the Supreme Court's order and carry out the no-confidence vote in accordance with parliamentary laws. The Assembly was adjourned till afternoon, but failed to restart on time, raising questions over whether the no-trust vote will be carried out in line with the top court's order. The National Assembly session has finally convened, and the proceedings are underway. The Hajj and Umrah Ministry of Saudi Arabia has announced that the number of pilgrims allowed for the Hajj season this year will be up to 1 million people, greatly expanding the key event to participants from outside the kingdom after 2 years of tight COVID restrictions. The ministry said the number of international pilgrims for the year will be in accordance with the quotas allocated to each country, taking into account the compliance with all healthcare criteria. It also said that this year's Hajj season will only be open to pilgrims under the age of 65 who have received the main COVID-19 vaccine approved by the Saudi Ministry of Health. According to the statement, pilgrims coming from outside of Saudi Arabia are required to submit a negative COVID-19 PCR test result within 72 hours before departure. The ministry also reminded of the need for pilgrims to adhere to precautions and follow all health instructions while performing their Hajj. Ten humanitarian corridors to evacuate people from Ukraine's besieged regions have been agreed for Saturday. According to Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk, the planned corridors include one for people evacuating by private transport from the city of Mariupol. It comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for a firm global response on Friday after a missile strike killed 52 people at a train station in eastern Ukraine. About 4,000 civilians had been in and around the station, heeding calls to flee before fighting intensifies in the Donbas region. Zelensky said it is another Russian war crime for which everyone involved will be held accountable. Former Goldman Sachs banker Roger Ng was convicted by a United States jury on Friday of corruption charges related to his role in helping loot hundreds of millions of dollars from 1MDB development fund. The jury convicted Ng of 2 counts of conspiracy to violate the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, FCPA, through bribery and circumvention of Goldman's internal accounting controls, as well as 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. 49-year-old Ng is accused of taking $35.1 million in kickbacks to help Malaysian financier Low Teck Joe or Joe Low steal $2.7 billion from the Malaysian fund. Over the course of an 8-week trial in federal court, however, Ng's defense argued that the funds were for a separate, legitimate business transaction. He was charged with 3 counts of conspiracy and faces as long as 30 years in prison if he is convicted on all of them. The scandal saw Goldman pay more than $5 billion in global fines, including more than $2.9 billion to the U.S. Justice Department. Golf, the Masters. Scottie Scheffler led the chart by 5 shots after carding a 5-under par round of 67 at Augusta. The world number 1 bogeyed 2 of his first 3 holes but did little else wrong to finish 36 holes at 8 under 136. Charles Schwartzel, Sun Jae Im, Shane Lowry and Hideki Matsuyama were tied for second on 3 under par. The 5-shot margin ties the halfway lead at the Masters. 4 others had the same lead and all went on to win, including Jordan Spieth in 2015. Playing in just his 3rd Masters, Scheffler made 7 birdies on the last 15 holes after opening with a bogey at the first. Tiger Woods is 9 shots off the lead on 1 over par and managed to fight back from a tricky start to the second round to make the cut. McIlroy, who needs to win the Masters to complete a career Grand Slam, carded a second consecutive 73 and goes into the weekend on 2 over par. Turning on to Formula One now, the Australian Grand Prix. Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc claimed his 2nd pole position of the year with a blistering final lap in qualifying session on Saturday. Leclerc, who won the season-opening race in Bahrain in March, posted a time of 1 minute 17.868 seconds to edge Red Bull driver and defending series champion Max Verstappen by 0.286 seconds. Red Bull driver Sergio Perez qualified in 3rd position, while Lando Norris will start from the 2nd row in his McLaren after qualifying 4th. Lewis Hamilton, who had claimed pole position in the 6 previous Grand Prix races held in Melbourne, finished 0.957 seconds behind Leclerc in 5th. After this short break, over 400,000 ringgit worth of illegal cigarettes seized in Tawau. Stay tuned. Nightline continues. Former Transport Minister Anthony Loke has urged his successor and the Civil Aviation Authority Malaysia, CAAM, to hold a transparent and thorough probe into the incident involving a Malaysian Airlines plane, which was said to have dived en route to Tawau. Loke said an open investigation is crucial to prevent the loss of public confidence. On a posting on his official Facebook page, Lok said the incident must be thoroughly probed by the Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, adding that he was confident that the CAAM has already begun the process. He also urged the Transport Minister to give his public commitment to launch an independent investigation and any findings be made public in the nearest time. MAS confirmed that one of its planes en route to Tawau was forced to turn back to Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA, 30 minutes into its flight on April 3rd, citing technical issues. A local daily quoted MAS as saying that flight MH2664 had been hit by both technical issues and bad weather, and the pilot made the decision with passenger safety in mind, landing the plane safely at KLIA at 5:03 p.m. that day. News about the incident was made public after one of the passengers shared her experience on social media. She claimed that half an hour into the flight, the plane took a sharp dive from 31,000 feet to 24,000 feet in a matter of seconds, based on her checks of the Flight Radar 24 tracking application. The passenger claimed the flight circled above Malacca a few times and eventually returned to KLIA, where she switched flights and arrived safely in Tawau at about 9:50 p.m. Over 400,000 ringgit worth of cigarettes believed smuggled into Sabah from Indonesia have been seized during a crackdown in Tawau district. The operation, dubbed Ops Benteng Bersama, conducted by the Malaysian Armed Forces Joint Task Force 2 ATB2 team in Tawau on Thursday, also saw the confiscation of 2 vans used to transport these items. In a statement, ATB2 Commander Brigadier General Abdul Karim Ahmad said prior to the seizure, personnel involved in the sting had conducted checks at several points of suspicions. They had noticed the 2 vans which were abandoned at Kampung Sri Aman Tawau and went to investigate. Authorities believe the suspects noticed their presence and had managed to slip away undetected. He said they found 3,420 cartons of smuggled cigarettes worth 410,200 ringgit in both vans. It was said that the items might have been smuggled in from Indonesia and meant for sale in Tawau district. The items and the 2 vans, which were worth another 216,000 ringgit, were brought back to base for further probe. The total seizure is worth about 626,200 ringgit. The Regional Museum of Aysén, a gallery in southern Chile, which houses the famous remains of Chilesaurus, has been named as the best new museum in Latin America in the Leading Culture Destination Awards based in Berlin, also dubbed the Oscars of Museums. The museum's main attraction is the remains of the Chilesaurus, a peculiar dinosaur species discovered by accident in 2004 by a 7-year-old boy in the mountains of Aysén. Visuals of the museum wrap up Nightline this time around. With that, I'm Raymond Goh. Thank you for your company, and to all our Muslim viewers, Selamat Bersahur.